He is incapable of making a deal. He's just no good at it. He stinks at it. Just the worst deal maker that's ever sat in the Oval Office.
Welcome to this week's Wacky Moments of Liberal Expression. Remember a few years ago when Nancy Pelosi said this about Obamacare?
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Now the activists that pretend to be journalists over at CNN, well, they're adopting that approach in their effort to carry water for the Democrats. CNN's Chris Cuomo this week argues for the need to impeach the president in order to figure out if there's any evidence that warrants impeaching the president.
All right, so let's take you through the plus minuses. Impeachment has upsides. Like what? Well, potentially, it could be the best way to get you the information you deserve so that you can decide if there were an actionable abuse of power here by the president.
The liberal media was more than willing to take the mantle of following Nancy's twisted logic this week. After a breakdown in talks at the White House between President Trump and Democratic leaders, the media bowed down and just praised their master.
Of all of the people on Capitol Hill, and she's been here for a long time, she's now a historic speaker. I mean, this may be seen as the Pelosi age in the Democratic Party.
Nancy Pelosi, again, probably the sharpest. We've said this long before Donald Trump said what he said. The sharpest, most effective speaker.
She's a master strategist, and this language was intentional. And she knows that this kind of language is likely to get under his skin. This fight, this president's blow up.
This president's blow up. You know, the president and his advisors say that he was calm.
I walked out, I was so calm. You all saw me minutes later. I was at a news conference. I was extremely calm. Kellyanne, what was my temperament yesterday?
Very calm, no temper tantrum. I told the Facts First crowd if they published that you were fuming, temper tantrum, rage, lost it, that's just a lie.
I wonder why the liberal media went with blow up and lashing out.
The latest angry clash between President Trump and congressional Democrats. The president storming out of a planned meeting with Democratic leaders after just 3 minutes.
Two Democratic sources with knowledge of the White House sit-down tell NBC News that contentious cabinet room meeting lasted just 3 minutes. After walking in, not shaking a single hand, not even sitting down, President Trump lashed out at the Democratic leaders.
Oh, who said that?
Two Democratic sources with knowledge of the White House sit down.
Oh, well, you know, two Democratic sources. There's no need to talk to the other side then. That would actually require journalism. I mean, a couple Democrats said it was so.
He is incapable of making a deal. He's just no good at it. He stinks at it. Just the worst deal maker that's ever sat in the Oval Office.
Like this whole thing yesterday looked ridiculous. It was like a kid's play that was set up by a bunch of bumbling idiots.
Yeah, a lot like a kid's play with a fake White House and a fake Congress building and a bunch of performers being fed their lines and being told what to say.
Willie,
my God.
We've all known him for well over a decade. He has changed. I know he was always selfish and self-consumed and embarrassing at times, but he's changed a great deal mentally and psychologically, emotionally. He's much more frail and fragile. He just is.
That was Trump's most stunning, clear L on the head, courtesy of Nancy Pelosi. And the more he engages with this superior adversary, the more she kind of just paves the ways for the candidates to come in. I love you, Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, the things they do for love. Back in January, when New York passed its radical law that legalized late-term abortions, the networks kept the expansion of legal baby killing a secret love. You know, they gave it zero coverage in January, zero, because, you know, you didn't need to know. But in just the last couple of weeks, they've flooded their evening and morning shows with hostile coverage of pro-life laws in Alabama, Georgia, and Missouri. The big three networks filled their evening and morning shows with 2 hours and 21 minutes of breathless coverage.
For the second day in a row, a state taking sweeping new action to eliminate abortions.
The most restrictive abortion law in the country. Others rolled out in places like Kentucky and Missouri this week, Georgia with its heartbeat bill. What's the impact here politically, Chuck?
Alabama's newly minted abortion ban, not the first nor the last, as Missouri today moved a step closer to its own crackdown. the map of states that have recently introduced or enacted abortion restrictions.
Now, the measure is becoming a rallying cry nationally for 2020 Democrats, alarmed by a growing number of state laws restricting abortion.
The Alabama decision has jolted the national debate over abortion rights.
I don't want to be a fearmonger, but I do believe that they're trying to go on a path that will totally dismantle Roe v. Wade, and we have to be vigilant.
Oh, there's Nancy again. What a surprise. Well, we're almost out of time. Two things we need to remember this weekend. As these pro-life measures pass, do keep in mind actress Alyssa Milano. She is still not having sex. Her sex strike is deep into its second week.
But just to clarify the record for anxious men all over this country, is the strike something that you want to see, or is it just about awareness?
A lot of concern there. It's clearly impacting Chris Cuomo. But more importantly, this Memorial Day weekend, do take a moment to honor the men and women who have died while serving in the U.S. military. Do remember that their service was to protect our freedoms. I'm Eric Shiner for MRC TV. I'll see you again next week.